Hi, welcome back to Yoga Below the Belt, where every posture is cued, keeping the health of your pelvic floor in mind. I'm Tracy, and today's class is focused entirely on relaxing all these yummy muscles below the belt. As far as props go in this relax class, you might want a blanket to kneel on and a block to start with. Grab your gear, pause the video, and we'll get started. All right. Let's do a little bit of grounding as always to start our practice, just to help focus the body. I invite you to stand feet hip distance apart, palms facing outward, shoulders back and down, as you close your eyes and deepen your breath. Relaxing the muscle of the I'm just not with it today. Hi, welcome back to Yoga Below the Belt, where every posture is cued, keeping the health of your pelvic floor in mind. I'm Tracy, and this is class 7 in our Relax series, and I will focus entirely on all these yummy muscles below the belt, relaxing, stretching, and helping make these muscles more comfortable. As far as props go, you might want to grab a block just for the beginning of class, as well as a blanket or a pillow to kneel on later. We will be standing, squatting, kneeling on the ground, a little bit of everything. So pause the video, grab your gear, and we'll get started. All right, as always, let's focus. Center all of our attention on the body. I invite you to step with the feet hip distance apart. Relax the toes, shoulders come back and down as you close your eyes and deepen your breath. I can't stress enough how important the breath is for helping your pelvic floor concerns. Remember, with every inhale, the chest should rise up, and exhale, drop down. With every inhale, the chest rises and the rib cage expands, and drops down on the exhale. And with every inhale, raise the chest, expand the ribs, and press the air all the way down the belly. It is normal for the belly to move out when you inhale. And this motion, dropping the belly slightly as you inhale, filling that space, presses the pelvic floor down. And with the exhale, the belly shrinks back in and allows the pelvic floor to rise. Just like any other set of muscles, we need to be able to work up and down. Let's stand here relaxing for 2 more breaths. And I invite you to bring your hands to your belly, one on your upper belly, one on your lower abdomen. Continue breathing, and if Ujjayi is a part of your practice, and I really hope it is, you should start inhaling and exhaling through the nose, constricting the back of the throat to feel that nice ocean sound. Really feel the movement of the belly. One more deep inhale, the deepest inhale you've taken all day. And a long exhale. I invite you to bring your palms together, heart center. Set an intention or a goal for your practice. It's probably a good guess that your goal might be to relax your pelvic floor. And if that's the case, you definitely came to the right spot. And I invite you to open your eyes as we start our practice. This is going to be really yummy. You're really going to like it. And if you're dealing with tension, uncomfortable feelings, hopefully by the end of this class, some of that will be relieved. All right, first posture, I want you to grab a block. Now with the block, we're going to be standing. You can set the block between the calves. Nice soft knees. Or if you need a little more activation in the pelvic floor and you want to spread the legs a little further maybe, you can put the block in the inner thighs. Now, quick check-in. Make sure the pelvis is in neutral. So to start, we'll rock the hips back and forward. So the tailbone comes out and then rolls back forward. Find your center point where you don't have a huge arch and you're not tucking your tailbone under to straighten the spine. We want a natural back. And this is Dandasana. And this is our first posture today. I invite you to stand nice and tall, shoulders back and down. The knees remain soft. And all we're going to do is breathe. Nice inhale. Long exhale. And as you're doing this, try to inhale, fill the belly with air all the way below. And try and exhale from the bottom of the belly first. Inhale, fill the belly with air. And exhale the lower abdomen first. Let's do just 2 more. You'd be surprised how much this can help your pelvic floor. I do this almost every morning. All right, now we're going to remove the block and I invite you to come against a wall and we're going to do a wide-legged forward fold. If you don't have a wall, that's okay. Not all of us have enough space. I know this space is pretty small. Without the wall, you will spread the feet apart. Feet are, 3.5 feet, depending on how tall you are. Toes are pointed forward, and when you come down, I want you to bend the knees generously, sticking the tailbone out and keeping a straight back. And the idea is you're constantly moving, keeping that pelvis neutral, and stretching the back of the hamstrings. And if you have a wall available, it'll give you a little more support, and I think it's easier for relaxation to have that support. So you will come to the wall. You might need to play with the distance, and that's okay. We will have the feet roughly 3 feet apart. Support the hands on the wall as you stick your tailbone up and bring the body down until your back is nice and straight. And eventually, one day, you might get to the point where your back is parallel to the floor. For me, today is not that day. And that's okay. So I invite you to join me. Rest against the wall. Don't lock the elbows, nice and soft. Constantly pull the tailbone back toward the back of the head. And straighten the back by pressing the arms out if you can. Relax the neck and shoulders. Really focus on that belly movement and continue to relax your pelvis and the muscles of the pelvic floor. All right, we're going to stay here for 6 breaths, so get nice and comfy, inhaling and exhaling. You have 5 more on your own. Make sure the tailbone's pulling back. One more inhale. And on the exhale, engage the pelvic floor and release the body back up. Shaking out the hands a little if you need to. And we will move into a yogi squat. So, for the squat, I invite you to grab a block to help give you some support. And the way this will work, the feet will be a little further than hip distance. You can come down so that the front of your sits bones rest on the block. And then gradually bring the upper body straight so you have a natural curve in the spine. You're not tucking the tailbone under because you'll do more harm than good there. Palms can be heart center, and then you can use your elbows to very gently press the inner thighs outward. And you should feel a nice stretch in these inner thighs. Dealing with pelvic floor problems will hear that you shouldn't do a low squat. That may not necessarily be the case. If you are in this position where the tailbone's pulling back and you're not rolling your booty underneath, then it's totally possible for your pelvis to stay in neutral. Nice natural spine, and it'll help protect the pelvic floor. So if this works for you, great. We'll hang out for 6 breaths, and if not, feel free to sit down, chill out, relax, and jump back into the next posture. So again, we're in front of the sitting bones. Tailbone's constantly pulling back to maintain a nice natural spine. And you can use the arms very gently, press those inner thighs outward. And we'll be here for 6 breaths. Nice deep belly breaths. One more inhale, make it a big one. And on the exhale, we'll gently release, coming down onto all fours. Now in this next posture, I want to show you something that's a little bit of a modified cat-cow. And if you need a little pressure relief for the knees, go ahead and grab a blanket. Just to kneel on, a little bit of cushion. Alrighty, so the feet are hip distance apart. The knee is at 90 degrees and the hip is at 90 degrees as well. And the base of the hands, your wrists, should be directly under the shoulders. Now in cat-cow, normally we raise the chest, tailbone comes back, and we look up. And then in cat, we round the back coming through. That's a little much for what I want to accomplish with this class today. So we are going to keep the upper body steady, gaze on the floor, and just rotate the hips. So without making a lot of motion forward and back, we are going to tip the tailbone back toward the back of the head, keeping the upper body in place, just like a table. And then we tuck the tailbone under so the pubic bone comes toward your chin. And we will inhale with the tailbone back. And exhale, tailbone forward. This is a really good motion for stretching the pelvic floor. If you're really dealing with a lot of discomfort today, you can find one or the other half of this position that works and just stay there. For example, you might wish to pull your tailbone back and just hold while we're breathing. Just do what feels comfortable for you today. All right, let's have everyone join in. Come into table so you have a straight back, knees are hip distance apart, elbows and shoulders are relaxed. And we'll inhale first. So we inhale, the tailbone comes back. And exhale, the tailbone rocks forward, tucking under. Inhale, really make sure the belly button pops out as you're breathing in. And exhale through the lower abdomen first, tucking back under. And we have 4 more. One more. Inhaling, rotating the tailbone back. Exhale, tucking the tailbone under. And on the inhale, we'll come back into table, flat back. Now the next posture, you can do either child's pose or a modified child's pose. And what I mean is you can spread the knees apart, just a little past hip distance. Bring the body backward and extend the arms out. So the tailbone again is constantly pulling back, and you could even grab a block to rest your hands on or to rest your forehead on, something that's nice and comfortable. Your modified version would be to keep the knees at hip distance apart, come onto your forearms, relax the head down, maybe even grab a block for the head, and constantly work on pulling that tailbone toward the back of the head. Definitely a modified version, but I find in my relaxation classes that sometimes I prefer this because it really accentuates the stretch of the muscles. So, either child's pose or modified child's pose. This is almost a dolphin posture, but not quite. Let's all come into this together. Arms are nice and extended. Tailbone, you can tuck under once, and then we will bring the tailbone back, pulling toward the back of the head. Knees at 90 if you can. And we'll stay here for 6 breaths. Don't forget to move the belly with every inhale, every exhale. Let's take one more inhale together. And on the exhale, we'll release, coming back to all fours. And then I invite you to come lay flat on the belly for Sphinx pose. And this is a posture you need to be very careful with if you're dealing with pelvic floor problems. Well, I don't have a lot of room. Here we go. Ideally, your feet should be completely straight. I would invite you to have the elbows and shoulders in line, stacked. Hips are ground into the ground. Booty and legs are nice and engaged. Raise the chest and look directly ahead. And if you're squeezing your booty, extending the legs, stretching the abdomen, all of these will help combine to stretch the pelvic floor. And we'll be here for 6 breaths. One more inhale. And on the exhale, we'll come back to all fours once more for thread the needle. If you want to kneel on a prop, like a blanket, you can. And the way this will work, the knees will be hip distance apart. The right arm will come underneath so that you can rest on the shoulder. Head rests on the ground, and the hips aren't really moving a whole lot, so the tailbone is constantly pulling toward the back. If this is too much for you, you have the option of keeping the knees in line and just coming down slightly. Or the full version, come all the way onto the shoulders and rest the head. Hand can be in front, the left hand with the elbow bent, or extended outward in a nice stretch. Find what feels comfy for you. You also have the option to put a block under your forehead if you need to, well, side of your head. This is one I don't do in my classes a lot because not everyone has the flexibility with the shoulders, but it's so good for stretching pelvic floor. I just wanted to put it in so we could try it. All right, let's have everyone come to all fours. Inhale. And we'll exhale, bringing that right hand underneath, right shoulder toward the floor. Tailbone constantly pulling toward the back of the head, so you're untucking the tail. Hips are parallel to the floor. And we'll stay here for 6 deep breaths. You can play with that left hand, see what feels good. One more inhale. And on the exhale, bring that left arm back to help give you some support. And we'll come out of the posture and switch sides. Maybe not my favorite shirt choice for this, but that's okay. Nobody's perfect. All right, all fours again. We'll come right into it because you know where we're going. The left arm threads underneath the right arm. Head comes down, tailbone constantly pulling toward the back of the head. And we'll be here for 6 deep Ujjayi breaths. Remember, if it's ever too much, just come out, no problem. One more inhale. And on the exhale, bring that right hand back to give you some support, and we'll come straight out of it. And I want you to transition directly onto your back for figure 4. Now, as you're lying on your back, feet should be nice and flat, planted on the floor. If you notice your back is coming up quite a bit, you always have the option of putting a blanket under the head. And the act of raising the head, believe it or not, will slightly lower that lower portion of the rib cage and give you a more neutral position for the pelvis. All right, our last posture before we relax. All right, I should say before we focus on just relaxing the body, not the pelvic floor, is going to be figure 4. So I would invite you to keep the left leg planted on the ground. The right leg lifts up and crosses over to rest on that left leg. Key points here. You want to make sure the sacrum, the triangle bony spot between the hips, stays nice and flat on the floor. And you're gently going to start pressing that right knee away from your chest. If this is too much for you, don't press into the knee because you don't want to hurt your knee joint. So if you're hanging out here and gradually moving the hip or moving the knee to the right, that's fine. If you're in the position and you need a little more, you always have the option of raising that left leg. Pick what works best for your body today, and we'll stay here for 6 breaths. Nice ujjayi breathing, shoulders relaxed. And really focus on relaxing those muscles of the pelvic floor. One more inhale. And on the exhale, very gently release the legs to the floor. And we'll switch sides. So now the left leg comes up and crosses over the right. Find what option feels best for your body today. On this side, I'm not going to raise the right foot. I'm just going to hang out, and that's good. No problem. And we'll stay here breathing for 6 breaths. This is our last 5 breaths, so really focus on raising the belly as far as you can with every inhale. One more inhale. And on the exhale, release. Instead of going to a full Shavasana at the end of our practice, let me rephrase. You can go into a full Shavasana if you'd like to. But I'm going to recommend that you stay with the sacrum flat on the floor, knees hip distance apart, and just rest your hands on the belly. As you drop out of ujjayi breath, and focus on deep breaths with the eyes closed. And with every exhale, try and relax the pelvic floor muscles even more. As we lay here, relaxing, breathing, and enjoying some peace and quiet for about 8 more breaths. I want to thank you for joining me today. I hope your pelvic floor feels nice and relaxed. Or if not quite yet, that you can tell you're getting there. You did a great job today, and I'm so glad you showed up. Thank you for coming and for welcoming me in on your journey to helping improve your pelvic floor health. I really hope to see you again tomorrow. I wish you well. Namaste.